Hey there, Diane Conklin with Complete Marketing Systems and Diane'sFarmDozen.com. We are on episode 4, and today we're going to talk about control. Episode 4 is all about the fact that you have less control over things than you think or than you want, is the bottom line, right? And so there's so many variables in life and in business and things that we don't control, right? And look, I tell people this all the time. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you're a control freak. Plain and simple. You're a control freak. You have to be. That's part of what we do. And when we start to let go of that, when we start to release that, you'll be surprised at what changes in your life and in your business. But let me start off by talking a little bit about how this relates to the farm, and then I'll bring it back into the business. But there's so many things that you don't control that affect the farm and farming, right? The weather, animals, somebody gets sick, or the cow is having, or the calf comes early, right? Or the piglets, or the peeps, and the chickens, right? Kind of thing. We didn't have our own. We bought the peeps, but equipment issues, unexpected. You don't control. Now there is preemptive, right? There is preventive maintenance, but sometimes things happen, and a belt uh, tears, or something breaks down, and you're in the middle of the field. What do you do, right? So we'll talk about having plans and being flexible. That's actually the next episode. But there are all these things that potentially, the price of things you don't control. So how do you monitor and have systems in place so that you can control to some degree, and buy when it's low and sell high, and all of those different things, right? So talk about not having control. Never forget this. Dad had planted a field and got everything done. It was the field that at our place, it was the very back of the property. And it just gotten it planted and everything was good to go. And we got the most torrential rains, like rains like I can't remember ever having in Ohio before that or since. Of course, I haven't lived there in a lot of years, but I mean, it was horrible. And the field was flooded. Well, guess what that means? That means all of that planting that he did, those seeds are now floating, right? They're everywhere, and they've washed to, I don't remember what he planted. It doesn't matter. But whatever it was all of that for nothing, right? So think about, you did everything right. You went out and you planted, you did your thing, you tilled, you plowed, you tilled, you waited till it was right, you planted the seeds, and now the field is ready to go. All you have to do is now wait, right? For a little bit of rain, and the conditions to be right, and the plants start to grow. Not this time. So think about all the things that you didn't control. You couldn't control the weather. You didn't know it was going to rain like that, because it never does in Ohio. But the waste, right? Now you had all that seed that you already paid for. Now you've got to reseed, replant. The gas, your time, all of those things went into planting that field. And I couldn't tell you now how big the field was or how many acres the field was, but it was big. And so the reason that I remember this so vividly is, and I don't know why we had to do this. Maybe mom was working or had something else, but dad didn't want to leave us kids in the house alone, even though I was the oldest, and we did. I don't must not have been old enough for them to be comfortable for me to do that. And so the three of us are playing in the back of dad's pickup truck while he's planting this field. And it was hot in Ohio then, that day, and the sun was shining. And this was back in the 70s. Um, we didn't think about sunscreen and that kind of stuff back then, right? I can remember all of us. My sister has really olive skin, and so not so much her, that she just would get tan. But my brother and I are very similar, from light skinned and all that. We were burnt to a crisp. I can remember my shoulders being so sore from the sunburn, right? And we could have controlled that. But there was no way to control all of the variables that went into having to replant that field. And so in business, we think we control things. We want to feel like we control things is a bigger issue, right? But we don't. And so sometimes you have to just let go, right? Just let things happen. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? And so control the things that you can, right? Dad controlled the fact that he went out and bought the seed and put it in the planter and planted the field with his crooked rows. We always used to make fun of him that none of his rows when he planted were straight. Um, but you don't control the weather. And so when that torrential rain came, I can remember being in the house and him just, he was a little distraught. He was a little mad. But again, he knew that he didn't control any of it. And so what's the point of giving it that energy? Same in your business, right? You don't get a sale, or you're not the right choice for somebody, or you give something your best. You do a presentation. You've spent all this time putting together a PowerPoint. You spent all this time practicing the presentation, doing the marketing, writing the emails, shooting the videos, doing the ads for social media. You did all of that work. And maybe you didn't make a sale. You got skunked, is what we call that with speakers, right? Hopefully it doesn't happen very often, but it's going to happen to everybody at some point in your career if you're around long enough and you're pushing hard and you're working and you're doing what needs to be done, right? Which we talked about in episode 3. It's going to happen. So the choice that you have is, are you going to sit around and be mad and angry and take all that energy and use it for that? Or are you going to sit down and do what I call an after action report and really think about, okay, what are the things that we do control? What are the things that we could do differently? Would we do this again, right? So we go through a series of questions, me and my team, after we do something, whether we like the result or we don't. What did we do that worked? What did we do that we would change? Because I don't talk necessarily about things not working, but what could we have done better? What would we change the next time? Would there be a next time? Based on what we know now, would we do this again? Sometimes the answer is yes with these modifications. Sometimes we would do it again exactly the way we did it before. And sometimes the answer is no, we're not going to do this again because of whatever these reasons are. And so here's the real message for episode 4. Control what you can control and move on. Let the rest of it go. I have a little sticker on the screen of my computer. It says it ain't that serious. And that's about control, right? Here's the other piece of control. You can start again. You can begin again at any point in your day, at any point in your week, at any point in your life, right? I'm about to turn 62. I begin again sometimes every day, sometimes multiple times a day, right? Things are going to shift. Things are going to change. Things are going to be different. You just have to go with the flow. If you are holding on to the wheel of life so tight that you're what I call white-knuckling the steering wheel, right? You're holding on so tight because you want to control it. Just let go a little bit. Do that with your hands, right? Take a minute right now and take your hands and just squeeze as hard as you can. Feel that? Feel that tension and pressure? It's not just in your hands. It's into your shoulders. It's into your neck. It's into my face, right? Now let go just a little bit. You don't have to let all the way go. Just let up on that pressure. Did you feel all of that release? Now open your hands and lay your hands on the table or on your lap in front of you. Oh my gosh, it's all gone because I let go of control. If you drive around like that, right? That's uncomfortable. You're not gonna last very long. You ain't making an 8-hour trip driving like that. But you're trying to drive your business that way. Stop, because you have less control of things than you think anyway. All right. If you want all 12 of the lessons, go to dianesfarmdozen.com. You can get them there. All 12 of them put together for you in a nice little packet. We'll be back in a couple of days with lesson number 5. But lesson number 4 was you have less control over things than you think. And that's okay. Control what you can. Do what you can. Let go of the rest. Move on to the next thing. I hope that was helpful. If you need help letting go. If you need help figuring out what are the things that I'm focusing on that I shouldn't be, or that is taking away from the productivity of other areas of my business, reach out. Let me know. Love to hear your comments. Love to hear what you think. Comment on this wherever you see this, or shoot me an email. Reach out to me on social media. I'm easy to find. Diane Conklin or Complete Marketing Systems. Either one is where you'll find me. Until next time, make it a great day.